We're talking about things that are extremely hard because the natural man is an enemy to God, and the natural man and the natural woman does not naturally do the things that we're talking about. So we have to enlist help from heaven through the grace that comes through the Savior's atonement, the strengthening capacity, the spiritual gifts. All of those things are a part of this process. But it's also taking something that's rather abstract and trying to make it doable, practicable, practical, tangible. For my simple mind, questions help me do that. So if I just ask a series of questions, where am I in relation to where I'm trying to be? What lack I yet? In my judgment, change always has some fundamental building blocks. First, there's information. So a student in school thinks, yeah, I understand this material. I've studied hard and I'm ready to go. You take a test, you get the results, and only when you have that information do you know, I didn't know this nearly as well as I thought I did. So there's a gap. Information helps us understand the size of the gap between where we are and where we need to be. So what lack I yet focuses on the information that reveals that gap. So what do I need to do to reduce the gap? And then ultimately, what will sustain that change in attitude, desire, behavior over time? That's the therefore what. So for me, this isn't regimented. It's not even sequential. It's an ongoing series of those things over and over again. Well, what lack I yet? What do I need to do? And therefore what? And you make a little nudge, and it's line upon line, precept upon precept. We'd all like to get to where we're supposed to be immediately, and it never happens that way. It's incremental. We can't even see the changes often that are occurring in us. If we want to come unto Christ and be perfected in Him, that requires a never-ending process of having our weakness revealed to us. Okay, good. Given what I'm seeing here, what do I do? Inspiration can help us not be blown away and bummed out at the size of the gap. I love Elder Maxwell when he said, there's divine dissonance and the devil's discontent. You look at the gap and I quit, I give up, I can't make it. That's the devil's dissonance. Divine discontent is when you look at the same gap and you say, okay, I can't do this alone, but I know I've got heavenly help. I'm pressing forward. And that never ends. I think that's how we ultimately offer our whole souls as an offering unto God. But it's not all at once. It's a little bit at a time, line upon line. And I think one of the biggest barriers to this, Sister Bednar and I, when we were at BYU, Idaho, would meet with students every Monday night, let them ask questions. And one I've always remembered was a young woman. She was probably 20 or 21 years old. And her question was, Brother and Sister Bednar, I'm just not like Sister Hinckley. Well, duh. And so my first response to her was, well, how old are you? And she said, I'm 20 years old. I said, well, Sister Hinckley's almost 90. She should be 70 years ahead of you, and you probably shouldn't be a whole lot like her. If we could get Sister Hinckley at 20, I bet she was probably a lot like you. Maybe not even as good, I don't know, maybe a little better. But what you see in Sister Hinckley is 70 years of line upon line, assessing the gap. Here's what I need to do. Here's how I sustain it. Now I can see the gap again. It's different, but it's still there. She's been doing that for 70 years. She ought to be ahead of you. I think there's a lot to learn from not locking in on the wrong object of comparison. He'll let us know how we're doing. You're not going to find out by comparing yourself to somebody else.